So Sacred 2 Remaster finally released, and yeah, I didn't get an early review copy, which means my thoughts are coming in a bit late. From what I have seen, a lot of the people who got early review keys seem to be pretty casual Sacred 2 players, while I have been with the game since the very beginning. I first played it on Xbox 360 back in 2008 and then moved to PC later on. I have taken several characters all the way to level 200 in Niobium. Later on I modded the hell out of the game and spent countless hours sticking into its systems. Sacred 2 was actually my first introduction to the ARPG genre, so it really holds a special place in my heart. I'm saying all of this because I want you to understand, I really know this game, and as much as I love that Sacred is getting another shot, and as much as I appreciate that this remaster is probably more future-proof when it comes to hardware and compatibility, I have to be honest, I am disappointed with the state it released in. Maybe that's why I didn't get a review key, because I would notice immediately how many things are missing or changed for the worse. Now, are there crashes and bugs? Yes, a bunch of people are reporting them, and I also encountered a few, but that stuff can usually be fixed in patches. But that's not what really bothers me. The real issue here is the cut content, so let's go over what is missing. In the original PC version, you had 5 skill slots and 5 weapon slots. In the remaster, that has been reduced to 4 each. Losing that 5th slot might not sound like much, but for anyone who actually builds complex characters, it's a massive downgrade. Some builds literally rely on having that 5th skill slot, and there is just no reason to limit players' choice like that. And for console players, it's even worse. They had 2 separate loadouts of 4 skills each, and now that has been cut in half. The relic system also took a hit. You used to have 4 relic loadouts, and now you only get 2. Again, no reason for it. When you create a character, you cannot even give them a name now. But it's something you could do in the original. Then the minimap got moved into the bottom right corner and now looks super dark, and you cannot change its size, position or color. In the original, you had a lot of control over that. You could even choose which NPCs appeared on it, or hide it entirely. So why remove options that actually improve the player experience? The fur textures of several characters and items, like for example the tiger mount of the Seraphim, got removed. Now it looks terrible. It makes it actually look older than the original. You also cannot hover over your health bar anymore to see your exact HP, which you could do before. And get this, the same runes cannot be stacked now, meaning they eat up way more inventory space. And somehow they didn't even bother to expand the inventory size, which would have been such an easy quality of life improvement. Back in the day, we used mods that shrunk every item down to a 1x1 cube, just to make room for all the uniques and set gear. But even then, I still had to make separate bank characters to store everything. So the fact that they didn't touch this at all is just disappointing. Multiplayer also feels stripped down. There are no real lobbies, just peer-to-peer invites. And I think that's only for PC. As far as I know, the console version doesn't have multiplayer at all. But the biggest loss for me is free play mode. If the devs had actually ever played the game into the late or end game, they would know how essential that was. It lets us open a temporary world where all the bosses were still alive, so we could farm them again. In the base campaign, once a boss is dead, it stays dead, so free play was crucial for anyone grinding for gear or XP. The UI also feels off. I don't know how else to say it. It just doesn't feel good to read. The original UI was a bit confusing at first, but once you got used to it, it had personality. Each menu had its own vibe. Now everything just looks like one big grey blob. And when you hover over attacks or abilities, you don't get nearly as much detailed info as before. Even the element icons don't tell you what they mean. You have to guess your armor resistance now, where the original would just tell you straight up. Also, for some reason, you cannot move your character anymore when you open a menu. And keep in mind that this game doesn't pause when you open the menu. In the original, you could still run around or react to danger while checking your inventory, so losing that ability is a clear downgrade. But it gets even worse when you realize that you could also open multiple menus at the same time before, but now you are forced to open everything one by one. And for whatever reason, the mouse cursor is tiny now, which makes precise aiming even harder than it already was. Honestly, it would have been so much better if they just kept all of those menus and UI features exactly the way they were and focused purely on making the game stable on modern hardware. Instead, a lot of these changes make the overall experience feel clunkier than the original, which is the last thing a remaster should ever do. And don't even get me started on the graphics menu. It's a mess. There are so many weird settings that no normal player will understand, and somehow they left out basic things like a V-Sync. What is also really disappointing is that the remaster doesn't add any quality of life improvements. You have to remember, Sacred 2 is almost 20 years old now, and you can really feel that in a lot of areas. I already mentioned the awful inventory size, but it goes beyond that. There is still no option to respec or reallocate your attributes and skill points, which is just baffling in this day and age. For any modern ARPG, a respec system is basically mandatory. Every big game in the genre has it, so there is no reason Sacred 2 Remaster shouldn't. It's something that would only make the game better, without breaking the original design. And this becomes an even bigger issue when you think about how long it actually takes to level a character to 200, which is the level cap. We are not talking a quick grind here. In an unmodded game, it can easily take anywhere from 300 to 600 hours. That's an absolutely insane amount of time to spend on one character, and not being able to reskill after all that effort feels brutal. Honestly, they could have just added a simple button in the skill menu to handle it. No need for new NPCs, no complicated systems, just a basic option to respec. If I were one of the devs, I would have also adjusted the pacing, increasing combat speed by around 1.2 to 1.5 times, and boosting XP gain by 5 to 10 times. That would make a world of difference. Because let's be real, no modern ARPG player is going to spend 600 hours on one character just to hit the endgame. As it stands, you are basically forced to mod your files or use the character editor again to fix these issues. Luckily, both of those options still work. When I first read that the devs were working with the community, I genuinely thought they would implement a lot of what was in the community patch and enhanced edition. Those mods were incredible, especially all of the new items they added. But from what I have seen so far, none of that made it into the remaster. And I just don't get the design decisions. They keep saying they wanted to stay true to the original, which I totally respect. But if that's the case, why remove core features that were already there? I would understand not including modded content, but why cut out the 5th skill slot? The original had it, and cutting down on features doesn't make the UI better either. Having 4 skill slots in a box doesn't look cleaner than 5 in a row. If I were redesigning it, I would put the 5 skill and weapon slots centered at the bottom as before, and move potions and buffs off to the side. They are not even that important. Potions are used through hotkeys, and buffs are typically a one-time activation at the start of a session. So why make those the centerpiece of your interface? It doesn't make sense. Now, to be fair, there are some positives. For one, you don't need as many mods just to make the game playable anymore. The camera distance is actually great now, something that used to require tweaking files manually in the old version. Then the fog is also gone, which used to hide pop-ins and the low draw distance. In the original, we had to install a mod to remove it, so that's definitely an improvement. The visuals also overall look sharper, and you have more screen resolution options now, which is nice. The game's response time feels slightly better too, but combat targeting and aiming still feels just as clunky as before, especially when you play with keyboard and mouse. This has always been one of Sacred 2's biggest flaws. and it's disappointing that they didn't fix it. You have to precisely aim and hover over each enemy to attack. If you don't, your character either stands there or just walks around. It desperately needed some kind of auto-targeting or hit assist, something you actually get when you are using the controller. Sacred 2, at its core, is still a fantastic ARPG. Even after all these years, the game's massive open world continues to impress. It is filled with distinct regions, each with its own atmosphere and style, from dense forests and scorching deserts to eerie swamps and snowy peaks. The variety keeps exploration genuinely exciting. Every area feels handcrafted in a way that most modern ARPGs can't quite replicate. On top of that, the game's roster of unique characters gives it even more replay value, since the classes here are much more unique than the basic warrior, mage and rogue we are used to see. And of course, we can't forget the mounted combat, something that still feels surprisingly fresh, even today. Riding into battle on your personal mount while slashing through enemies makes Sacred 2 stand out as a truly one-of-a-kind experience in the genre. But if you want the ultimate Sacred 2 experience and you are on PC, I still recommend sticking with Sacred 2 Gold Edition. Install the community patch and the Enhanced Edition mod and you will get a much smoother and more complete experience. It's honestly sad to say, but the modded original is far superior to the remaster in almost every way. After revisiting the original version recently to get comparison footage, it really hit me just how much got lost here. And here is the funny thing, the original Sacred 2 Gold still works perfectly fine on modern systems. With the right patch setup or compatibility tweaks, you can run it easily on Windows 10 and 11. So from a PC standpoint, the remaster doesn't even feel necessary. The only group I would really recommend it to right now is console players, if the crashes get fixed. The original console version ran terribly and isn't available on modern consoles, so for them this remaster is at least a playable option. That being said, it's not all doom and gloom. The remaster is built almost identical to the original under the hood. You can even import your old characters into the new version, and after digging through the files, it looks totally possible to bring old mods into this one. So I'm hopeful we will eventually see the Enhanced Edition get converted, along with mods that restore everything the devs cut out, like the 5th skill slot for relic loadouts, minimap options and free play mode. Of course, it would be way better if the developers fixed those things officially, but it's hard to say how much post-launch support we will actually get. Sacred 2 deserved better. It was an incredibly ambitious game for its time, and the devs never really got the chance to finish it properly. That's what makes this so frustrating, because the remaster could have been the chance to finally give the game the polish and respect it always deserved. And what I am worried about is that THQ wanted to use this remaster as a gauge to see if the Sacred IP is worth investing in. And now, with this messy release, we might never gonna see another Sacred game, which just really sucks. Well, I'm still gonna bring out some content for the game. I am currently planning on doing another build and beginner guide. So if you guys want to see it, let me know. And if you have any other video ideas for the remaster or original, let me know in the comments below. So thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.